We wanted to look at two regions, one in France and one in the UK, and see if we could improve the cohesion and all of the other aspects that go along with that in both those areas. Croire literally means to believe in French. I think I've said that enough times now that that's correct, and I'm not going to get told off for that. So this was a European project. It's funded by Interreg for a cross-channel programme and selected for funding within the European Regional Development Fund. We had a number of partners, as you can see. Greenwich were the lead partner. In France, our lead partner we're joined by as well was France Business School, Amiens campus. And within that we have two schools in the UK. So we worked within Sittingbourne Community College and the Isle of Sheppey Academy in the UK, in the Swale area. And we worked in Lycée Jean-Baptiste de Lambert and Collège César Franck in France, in Amiens, in the region where we were looking at. And we chose these two regions because they were particularly similar in terms of their proportion of disadvantaged young people living within those areas. We also were very lucky to have some other partners involved in the project as well. We had Kent County Council Educational Psychology Services were involved in the project in the UK, and we had Charlton Athletic Community Trust, and they kindly provided a lot of the sports activities that we used with the children to encourage cohesion and aspirations. We also had Swale Borough Council in the UK, who were really helpful because they helped us in terms of, we were looking at both of the two regions, so they were sort of showing us the children some of the highlights of where they live, so they could be proud of where they came from. In France, we also had an association, MDR, which is also a charity. They were involved in the project. They essentially put young people, so sort of student-age ambassador type mentors, to sort of use the lingo that we would use in the UK, and they go into schools and where there's these particular schools where children are less likely to go on to university and try and encourage them to raise those. So as I mentioned, this project was eligible for funding because we were looking at two regions that were selected within the Interreg 4A funding stream. So we worked within Kent and within the Somme region. Lots of objectives in CRA, but just basically to say that the main aim of the project was to identify a cross-border approach to identify ways to improve aspirations, improve language, cultural perceptions of both a different culture and their own culture, sense of belonging within the community, perception of heritage and environment, and hopefully with all of those things combined with this sort of positive cooperation, we'd also improve aspirations. We did this a number of ways, but essentially we had mentors went into schools. Mentors were ambassadors from the University of Greenwich, or they were ambassadors from France Business School, and they went into schools, talked to students, did various activities with them. There was about 6 to
how we might improve the services that young people face when they're unfortunate enough to need to go to a job centre. In terms of why, in the context that we were looking at when we went into the field a couple of years ago, the government was really, as most governments are across Europe, really concerned about youth unemployment rates. Okay? And they were rolling out endless waves in the UK of initiatives to try and support young people to go back to work. In London, largely because we're at the University of Greenwich, so obviously we're very close, and living locally as well, we chose the job centre in Woolwich as our base for undertaking the trial. What we're interested in is improving the services of the job centre received by the young people, aged 18 to 24, okay? And how we wanted to do that was, obviously the youth contract was going to bring these young people into the job centre once a week. to the same advisor to help support them and nurture them supposedly into the labour market. And we wanted to supplement that by trying to use technology. So most young people have got some kind of gadget that they carry with them permanently. Their emails go in there. And the idea was to try and use that technology that they're carrying around with them all the time to try and prompt them just that little bit more between meetings and see if we could have an effect. What we decided to do in terms of the trial was to use email. And we could have done this by text message. We really wanted to use the text message system, but at the job centre in Woodgate it became too clunky, too difficult to actually get access to the database and run those. So we went with an email trial, and the idea was to send during the week emails suggesting local job vacancies or job vacancies that would match the profile of the young person who's looking for work. The idea was, could we get more people to leave benefits in some form by prompting them in between? And did it matter whether we put that motivational sentence, you know, John Brown just found a job at Woolworths? In terms of the trial that we designed, it had three groups, randomly assigned, it's a randomised control trial. One group went through to no email, so they just received the youth contract as it was, the weekly meetings with the advisor, and then randomly assigned young people into either the hot jobs category, so getting a list of those local London vacancies, or a second group who got that plus the case study of this wonderful person who's just got a job this week. And wanted to see whether it makes any difference about the wording in the email and whether the email actually made any difference. In terms of the trial, we had 840 young people, okay, on the books at the time that went through into one of these three groups. So that's just to give you an idea. And this was a randomised control trial, so there wasn't any intervention of who would go to which group. This is a proper randomised control trial. What are the conclusions? Well, here's the first step. The people who got the personalised email offload, okay, left claiming benefits at 57%. In the non-personalised groups are just the job vacancies, 16%, and then in the control group, 30%. And we might look at these numbers and think, well, that's a bit strange. Why would the personalised email have a positive effect and the other one negative? Okay? But the reason is that offload may not have been the most sensible output to look at. Because you can offload from that benefit into a job or employment, or you can offload because you don't engage with the job centre next week and so they punish you or whatever, whether it's to X, they take you off of the benefits for that week for not engaging. Okay, so it is possible, and where we think we've got to with the numbers is that this higher offload rate for the personalised group, we're hoping, shows that we get more people flowing into work. Okay, we're going to have to test that a little further, but this lower rate that we get here shows that this personalised group, non-personalised group, actually starts to engage more with the job centre. What we think we observed in the non-personalised group is that this group then started to attend more because they've been prompted into some action, and probably prompted into action in not attending. It's what I mean, actually turning up at the job centre, and that hence gives us this strange number. So if we're running it again, and we're in the process of trying to adapt the trial again for a second attempt, we want to look at attendance rates, okay, whether they attend the job centre or not. So another way that we can look at the data is, did they actually click the button on that link and look at the job? So yes, we all get a lot of emails now coming into our inbox. My sister, love her, she's in the VC's office, and today she decided to prompt me about something that went out to all staff, because it's something she's doing, to make sure I was aware of it. Obviously I've deleted it. Yeah. So just to make sure that all these students are not deleting, or all these young people are not just deleting these emails, have a look. What we can see in terms of the hit rates or tracking rates on that website is the personalised group are much more likely and significantly more likely to actually hit the button to look at the job. So in conclusion, I think there's some benefit to doing something electronic, and we've got into a situation, particularly with the young people, of thinking of the job centre model in the same way as we do with everyone else. And we don't do that in education, okay? And we don't do that in any other forum, but with the job centre model, we're still delivering the service as if they are, as we were probably in the 1980s when it was set up. You go there, you touch, they say, have you applied for your 10 jobs this week? Yes, no, yes. Okay, we've really scoped for improving the service. So the lack of attendance data is making it difficult in terms of the interpretation, but the qualitative feel I got from being in the job centre on the floor was that interpretation that I've just given you to those percentages. So those emails were prompting them to turn up again and not miss that appointment, and with any luck, eventually get a job at the end of it.
Success. Donc, nous allons dans les établissements, dans les lycées, pour décrire les cours suivis dans notre école, mais surtout pour expliquer aux jeunes les expériences professionnelles en entreprise, les actions avec les entreprises et les stages qu'ils peuvent réaliser. Nous parlons également aux lycéens des projets d'association, les projets humanitaires, les projets événementiels, sportifs, festifs qu'ils peuvent développer au sein de l'école. Nous leur présentons aussi la vie étudiante. Nous leur présentons notre école qui est au centre-ville, près de la bibliothèque universitaire, près du restaurant universitaire. Et ces différentes présentations se font toujours avec des exemples concrets.
Alors, madame, les élèves ont quel âge?
Alors, les élèves sont en terminale, ils ont 17 ans.
Around 17 years old.
Donc, nous leur parlons aussi de ce qu'ils peuvent faire après les études. On leur donne des exemples de métiers après les études supérieures, des exemples d'entreprises qui embauchent nos diplômés. On leur parle des salaires à l'embauche et des évolutions de carrière, et on leur parle également de l'international. Cette action se mène avec des jeunes diplômés qui sont entrés dans la vie active, mais qui sont originaires des mêmes établissements scolaires qu'eux, des établissements scolaires avec des jeunes issus de milieux modestes. On propose également des visites d'entreprises pour que les jeunes puissent visualiser concrètement les métiers possibles. Dans le cadre des cordées de la réussite, nous rencontrons des jeunes issus de milieux modestes et issus de milieux ruraux. Donc en fait, ce sont plutôt des établissements où il y a peu de poursuites d'études. Ils réagissent positivement à l'exemplarité. C'est pourquoi nous les rencontrons toujours accompagnés d'étudiants qui sont issus des mêmes établissements scolaires qu'eux. Alors, un exemple d'une association qui a travaillé aussi sur le projet Cordée de la réussite et qui a travaillé aussi sur le projet Croix, c'est MDR. MDR veut dire mobilisation, dynamisme, réussite. Et ce petit livret montre des exemples de jeunes diplômés qui ont réussi leur parcours scolaire.
Pourquoi pas moi is the equivalent for why not me?
Yes.
Why couldn't I?
Pourquoi pas moi? Nous invitons les jeunes aux conférences qui sont organisées dans notre école, à France Business School, en compagnie de nos étudiants. Et il y a du tutorat des jeunes par des étudiants de notre école. On les accompagne aussi pour réussir le concours d'entrée. Vous avez ici quelques photos de jeunes pendant les séances de tutorat. Nous les invitons à une journée spéciale, ouverte, spéciale cordée, durant laquelle les jeunes rencontrent nos étudiants, nos professeurs, le personnel administratif. Il y a différents ateliers, dont un atelier cordé to climb on here. Et cet atelier symbolise le projet qui est cordé de la réussite. Les tuteurs aident les jeunes à grimper, climb.
The mentors help students to climb to get up higher.
Yes. Donc, c'est la simulation de l'ascension dans les études et ils sont aidés par les étudiants qui sont leurs tuteurs. Les jeunes ont besoin de concret, de preuves pour y croire, pour croire qu'ils peuvent effectivement aussi poursuivre de grandes études. et pour adhérer au projet de réussite, de poursuite d'études. Là, c'est un exemple d'un de nos anciens étudiants, Vladimir, qui est le créateur de MDR.
You're the one who founded the MDR Association.
Yes. Donc c'est un ancien du lycée de Langres à Amiens. Le lycée de Langres est aussi un établissement qui a travaillé avec Croix, pour le projet Croix, qui est diplômé de l'école, de France Business School, et qui aujourd'hui est contrôleur de gestion. Les résultats, chaque année, nous informons 500 jeunes pour une année. Chaque année.
Every year, 500 students receive this information.
Donc 500 jeunes sont informés dans 16 établissements qui sont des établissements politiques de la ville, des établissements reconnus par l'État comme étant des établissements où il y a peu de poursuites d'études.
Those schools are, how can I say, observed by the nation as places where few students will go on with higher education.
Parmi ces 500 jeunes qui sont informés, 70 d'entre eux viennent à notre journée spéciale Cordée de la réussite. 25 ont été suivis régulièrement en tutorat par nos étudiants. 22 ont réussi le concours d'entrée et 20 sont aujourd'hui inscrits en première année du bachelor.
Donc on passe de 500 à...
Oui, ça fait 4%.
It's about 4%. The ratio is about 4%, starting from the 500 students, reaching at the end 20 students entering the school.
C'est la première année de l'initiative.
Non, c'est la quatrième année.
In the fourth year, it's been done for 4 years now.
Mais les chiffres sont pour une année, pour la dernière année, ces chiffres.
And the figures are just related to the past year.
Alors, ce que j'ai découvert dans ce projet, c'est que l'ambition au départ n'est pas la même suivant le milieu social et l'éducation reçue. Notre rôle au sein des Cordées de la réussite, c'est de susciter cette ambition et surtout leur montrer que c'est possible de poursuivre des études supérieures, des études d'excellence, puisque l'entrée dans les grandes écoles sont vraiment des études d'excellence, il y a un concours d'entrée, et qu'elles ne sont pas réservées à une élite.
The ambition is really different according to the social class to which you belong, and showing them that it's not because you don't belong to a upper class social class that you won't be in a position to go further with higher education.
Alors, il y a une phrase d'une étudiante, peut-être tu vas pouvoir la traduire, une jeune qu'on avait interrogée quand elle était en terminale, qui avait été interrogée par un journaliste.
The girl who was interviewed, she was in the last year leading to the baccalaureate exam, so she was interviewed by a journalist.
Et qui avait dit, ce n'est pas l'endroit d'où l'on vient qui détermine l'endroit où l'on va.
Oh, c'est pas mal. It's not, she said, it's not, this girl said, it's not the place where you're coming from which determines the place where you're going to.
Et cette étudiante, aujourd'hui, avait fait notre école et aujourd'hui est aussi dans MDR. C'est Fatima qui a travaillé un peu sur le projet Croix aussi. C'était cette étudiante qui avait dit cette phrase quand elle était lycée.
This girl was a student of our school and she is a member of the association MDR Nathalie spoke about a few minutes ago.
Les conseils que l'on peut donner sur ce type de projet, c'est d'abord de trouver des financements pour pouvoir réaliser les différentes actions, d'investir beaucoup de temps, d'impliquer des étudiants qui veulent bien montrer l'exemplarité et qui accompagnent les jeunes. Et les pratiques transmises, c'est vraiment de travailler en réseau avec les diplômés, les associations, les entreprises et les étudiants tuteurs. Le résultat du travail se retrouve le jour de la rentrée scolaire, quand on voit que les jeunes issus des